We often look at modern Family Guy and think the characters have gone completely off the rails over the years. But if you take a trip back to the early seasons, you'll realize the Griffins have actually been a walking red flag since the late 90s.
Stewie, no! That is a bad place to touch. No, 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 no.
Today, we are taking a trip to the most sus old episode of Family Guy. Let's start the show. Starting off with Season 4, Episode 2, Fast Times at Buddy Cianci Junior High. What happens when a middle school crush goes way too far? In Season 4, Episode 2, Fast Times at Buddy Cianci Junior High, Chris gets wrapped up in a highly illegal, totally sus situation with his new teacher. But things quickly escalate from a harmless schoolboy crush to a full-blown true crime documentary when she asks him to permanently get rid of her husband so they can be together. The episode sets the stage when Chris's regular teacher actually wins the lottery and quits on the spot.
I can't believe Miss Clifton's gone. Who's gonna teach my class now?
At first, Brian steps in as the substitute, but eventually Chris gets a brand new teacher named Mrs. Lockhart. Chris is instantly smitten with her. She is attractive, gives him the time of day, and completely manipulates his teenage hormones.
I'm in love. Watch out for the stairs!
But Mrs. Lockhart isn't just looking for a teacher's pet, she's looking for an accomplice. She reels Chris in and promises that they can be together romantically, but there is one massive, highly illegal catch. Chris has to eliminate her husband.
This isn't a flip book, Chris. They're instructions. If we're going to be together, I need you to kill my husband.
That's right. She tries to coerce a middle schooler into committing the ultimate crime just so she can be free. Here is an incredibly dark, fun fact for the true fans out there. This entire storyline was actually based on the real-life true crime case of Pamela Smart. Back in the 90s, Smart was a woman who manipulated her underage teenage boyfriend into doing the exact same dark deed to her husband. She was caught, arrested, and is currently serving a life sentence in prison.
Okay, but I gotta give you the password or you can't get into the fort. It's Taco! Taco!
Fortunately, Lois is doing the laundry and stumbles upon a horrifying discovery. Mrs. Lockhart's written instructions for the master plan left right in Chris's pocket.
We gotta stop him!
Oh, can we stop at the supermarket? I want a Granny Smith apple.
Realizing her son is being manipulated by a psycho, Lois teams up with Stewie to figure out what's going on and teach Chris a valuable lesson about the dangers of these kinds of women.
For God's sake, Chris, you murdered Mr. Lockhart!
What? No, I didn't!
Ultimately, Chris realizes he is in way over his head and backs out of the sinister plot. A frustrated Mrs. Lockhart realizes she can't rely on a middle schooler for her dirty work,
I just wonder what happened to Miss Lockhart and that bear.
angrily telling him, "Fine, I'll do it myself, but we're through."
Fine, I'll do it myself, but we're through.
It is one of the most incredibly sus situations a teacher has ever put a student in on the show, and a perfect example of just how dark the classic seasons could get.
Love you.
Next up is Season 4, Episode 16, The Courtship of Stewie's Father. What is the absolute most boundary-crossing way a father and his infant son could possibly bond? Playing catch? Building a treehouse? How about inflicting extreme physical and psychological torment on the matriarch of the family? In The Courtship of Stewie's Father, Peter and Stewie prove that their dynamic is incredibly sus, culminating in a deeply uncomfortable moment where they literally lock Lois in the trunk of a car and send her into the water. The episode kicks off when Stewie begins acting out and aggressively demanding attention from Lois, literally knocking her over just to get a reaction.
Woman, pay attention to me!
Ow! Stewie, that's not nice. Don't grab Mommy's pants like that. You could really hurt her.
Lois's motherly intuition tells her that Stewie's behavioral issues stem from a severe lack of fatherly presence in his life. So she orders Peter to step up to the plate and start spending some quality bonding time with the little guy to straighten him out.
Actually, that sounds like fun. I want this.
Peter, maybe Stewie would like to play fort too.
No! If you need me, I'll be in space.
Peter tries to take on the father role, but his attempts are hilariously pathetic. First, he tries to bond with Stewie by taking him to a baseball game, but he completely forgets the kid in the car and misses the entire game.
Is that a baby in there?
Oh my god! He's gonna miss the game!
Then, he brings Stewie to the local bar, a totally inappropriate hotspot for a toddler, where Quagmire is telling completely unhinged stories. Peter even tries a classic wholesome game of got your nose, but takes it way too literally and physically injures his son's face.
And this is the hand that caused all the trouble.
Just when it seems like the father-son duo will never be able to connect, a happy accident changes everything. Peter accidentally hits Lois with a bag of rice, and Stewie finds it absolutely hilarious. Finally, Peter has cracked the code. The only activity these two can actually enjoy together is bringing absolute misery to Lois. Their bonding quickly escalates into full-blown cruelty as they pull increasingly harmful gags on her. They aggressively hose her down while she's sitting on the toilet, and Peter even greases the staircase, sending Lois violently slipping and sliding all the way down to the bottom. But then, things cross a massive, borderline true crime boundary. The duo actually packs Lois into the trunk of a car, locks her in, and sends the vehicle flying right off a cliff and into the water. In one of the most famous behind-the-scenes moments in the show's history, Peter and Stewie share an almost minute-long continuous fit of maniacal laughter as they drive home after committing this horrific deed. Fun fact for the true fans. Creator and voice actor Seth MacFarlane had to record this agonizingly long laughter twice for both characters, leaving him completely exhausted, with a strained voice, and dripping with sweat in the recording booth.
Hey, Dad, pull my finger.
What? Oh, sounded like a peep toad, but it's not summer.
Miraculously, a soaking wet Lois from the Black Lagoon survives the terrifying ordeal and returns home, completely furious. She immediately walks back her original idea, demanding that Peter and Stewie stay far away from each other from now on.
Stewie, you go into your room.
I think not. Dad's got my back.
Yeah, Stewie, she looks mad. You better go to your room.
In true cowardly fashion, Peter immediately folds and throws Stewie under the bus, acting like he had nothing to do with it. Stewie is disgusted by his father's betrayal, calling him a wuss and instantly losing all respect for him. So how does Peter win back his son's affection after such a massive failure?
Now he hates me. How do I get him to like me again?
By whipping out the ultimate parenting cheat code, a trip to Disney World. Of course, that trip ends disastrously with them throwing former Disney CEO Michael Eisner off a cliff, but it perfectly cements this episode as one of the most wildly unhinged and sus parenting displays in the show's classic era.
You know what, Fat Man? I'm not sure how to say this without sounding cheesy, but,
I love you too, buddy.
Next up is Season 5, Episode 6, Prick Up Your Ears. What happens when the local school decides to completely cancel its health education classes? Middle schoolers are left to their own highly questionable devices, and Lois takes it upon herself to become the most inappropriately enthusiastic substitute teacher ever. This classic episode proves that the Griffins' parenting style was deeply sus, right from the very beginning. The incredibly uncomfortable storyline kicks off when Lois experiences every parent's absolute worst nightmare. She walks into the house only to catch Chris and his teenage friends actively watching highly inappropriate adult videos. And just to make an already terrifying and awkward situation infinitely worse, little infant Stewie is casually sitting right there in the room watching with them.
Yes, and it's inappropriate for someone your age. Now, if you're curious about sex, you should talk to your sex ed teacher.
When Lois rightfully loses her mind over this discovery, Chris desperately tries to defend his deeply questionable actions. He explains that since the school recently cut all of its funding for health classes and let go of the teacher, watching these adult tapes is the only way he can possibly learn about the birds and the bees.
Well, that's crazy.
Horrified by the school's lack of proper education, Lois takes matters into her own hands and volunteers to step in and teach the class herself.
Well, somebody's got to step in. Tomorrow, I'm going down to James Woods High and offer to teach the class myself.
You would hope a caring mother would stick to a basic, sanitized textbook curriculum, but Lois goes wildly overboard. She dives deep into teaching the classroom of teenagers about the absolute importance of protection, essentially starting a lifetime of trauma for Chris. Just when you think the lecture can't get any more uncomfortable for her son, Peter randomly barges into the room to offer up his own terrible, completely unhinged expertise on the subject.
Lois, you think I'm gonna miss a chance to share my knowledge with these fresh young minds?
Both parents are equally disastrous in getting a normal, healthy message across. The other parents of Quahog quickly catch wind of Lois's highly detailed.
Peter, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you ruined my ed class. There's no way you're coming with me again.
Fine.
Hands-on lesson plans, and they are absolutely furious, forming a massive protest. They demand that the school use fear tactics to scare the students into total abstinence rather than teaching them actual safe practices. This leads to the school enforcing a ridiculously strict abstinence-only policy.
Can't believe they fired you. Can't you go down to the school and try to reason with them?
No, I'm banned from school property. The PTA doesn't want me around their children.
But as we all know, teenagers with raging hormones will always find a way to circumvent the rules. Meg and her new boyfriend decide to strictly follow the abstinence pledge by finding a deeply unsettling, highly sus loophole that involves Meg's ear. Yes, her ear.
Mom, you don't understand. Doug and I are abstinent, but if we have in the ear, it doesn't count. We're still pure in the eyes of the Lord.
The episode reaches its absolutely most unhinged climax when Lois accidentally walks in on the two of them practicing this totally absurd and uncomfortable loophole, scarring both Lois and the audience for life. It is the perfect example of how the early seasons loved to push the boundaries of what was acceptable on television.
And if you do make the choice to act on them, make sure you protect yourselves. Use a condom.
Next up is Season 4, Episode 3, Blind Ambition. What happens when the neighborhood's most notorious creep finally gets caught in the act, sparking a massive local scandal? And more importantly, how does Peter Griffin manage to make that entire situation about himself by doing something unbelievably foolish and permanently damaging to his own body? In Blind Ambition, the classic era of the show proves that nobody on Spooner Street is safe from highly sus behavior or extreme stupidity. This wildly uncomfortable episode kicks off with the gang hanging out at the local bowling alley, where Mort Goldman shockingly manages to bowl a perfect game.
Oh my God, you bowled a perfect game!
While celebrating, Lois heads to the women's restroom, only to make a horrifying discovery. She catches Quagmire hiding in the stalls, inappropriately spying on the women. Lois rightfully loses her mind and has Quagmire taken into police custody, resulting in an incredibly embarrassing mugshot.
It's all yours, Joe.
You know, you're lucky I've got some extra pull around here, thanks to my 18 medals for heroism.
The women of the neighborhood are absolutely furious and start a petition to have Quagmire permanently removed from Spooner Street.
We have had it with his disrespectful women. We're petitioning the city to have him removed from the neighborhood.
Desperate to save their friend, the guys vow to rehabilitate him and cure him of his highly questionable urges. They try some extreme aversion therapy, but Quagmire's instincts take over, and he ends up wandering into the local mall.
You sure Quagmire is ready to be out in public?
Nothing to worry about, Lois. We figured out a foolproof rehabilitation method.
He stumbles into what is essentially his version of paradise, the mall's security room, where he can secretly monitor all the women's dressing rooms on the security cameras.
Where am I? Am I dead?
No, this is where we monitor all the dressing rooms in the mall so we can keep an eye out for shoplifters.
But in a massive twist of fate, while Quagmire is engaging in this totally unacceptable behavior, he spots a woman having a severe heart attack on the monitors. He rushes out to perform CPR, miraculously saving her life. Almost instantly, Quagmire's creepy crimes are completely forgiven by the public, and he is hailed as a local hero.
Amazing. You saved her life. Thank God you know CPR.
What the hell, CPR?
Even receiving the key to the city from the mayor. This brings us to Peter. Watching Mort bowl a perfect game, Joe win police medals, and now Quagmire being celebrated as a town hero makes Peter feel incredibly inadequate and jealous.
What's wrong, Peter?
Oh, it's nothing, Joe. I don't know. It's just that all you guys have something to be proud of, you know?
Desperate to leave his own legacy and achieve greatness, Peter decides he needs to set a world record. He attempts a few totally absurd stunts, but eventually settles on a highly dangerous idea, setting the world record for swallowing the most coins.
Dad, I just don't hear it.
Come on!
Really, Peter, it just doesn't...
You're telling me that doesn't sound like Camptown races?
In a display of pure, unadulterated idiocy, Peter aggressively consumes a massive amount of nickels. The heavy metal toxicity from the coins causes a severe medical reaction, and Peter ends up completely blinding himself.
Mr. Griffin appears to have succumbed to nickel poisoning, causing him to lose his sight.
Oh my God, Lois, I'm blind as a bat! I can't see a damn thing!
Instead of resting, Peter uses his new disability to terrorize the family, stumbling around the house and making everyone miserable with his lack of sight.
Lois, don't talk. Just let me do all the work. Big, soft running down. Holy crap, it's Chris!
The climax of this insane storyline hits when a completely blind Peter wanders down the street and casually walks into his favorite watering hole, the Drunken Clam.
All right, you don't want to come in? Fine, I'll just tie you to this parking meter.
What Peter doesn't realize is that the entire bar is completely engulfed in flames, unbothered and entirely oblivious to the fire melting the building around him. Peter bumps into the unconscious bartender, Horace, and drags him out of the burning wreckage. By pure, accidental luck, Peter saves Horace's life and becomes the local hero he so desperately wanted to be. It perfectly wraps up an episode heavily fueled by deeply sus neighborhood drama and peak classic-era Peter Griffin foolishness.
Proud of you for saving Horace's life.
Yeah, Peter, you were amazing.
Huh. You know, Brian, I guess I was. People are gonna remember me for this.